Hello, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Thanks.
I have a little bit of, if I'm honest, a bit of intel that we've had from different people, including Simon Chapman, who's here watching on tonight. But I want to start with your lovely mum and dad, who every time we go to Invercargill for racing at Terratonga and things like that are so welcoming. I've had lovely kind of home-cooked meals and laughs, and I would imagine that was what life was like growing up in the Leitch household, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up, I didn't know anything different than, mum's kumara and chickpea salad. That was just a standard, and lots of roast meats. And yeah, very, very lucky growing up. And Dad was looking after lots of classic cars around the January, February classic time. And I was just a little kid running around the paddock. And then at night go home and mum was cooking for 50, 60, even 70 people sometimes. Amazing. It was crazy.
Okay, we'll talk about their racing careers in a minute in order to set up your own. But I think the extension of that is that every time I've gone there, always a bit of time in the workshop. He's had some amazing cars that he's worked on and continues to work on, your dad, Barry. How big of an impact or awareness or was that for you, like being around those kind of cars constantly?
Oh, it was great. Ever since I was a kid, I remember being 3 or 4 years old and sitting on the workbench as Dad was rebuilding my brother Damon's go-kart engines, and I vividly remember that, and like him just measuring tolerances on the rings with, diamond hones and wondering what they were, and like every little detail like that I was just brought up around since a very, very young age. And
how much does that help you now, like all that stuff, knowing?
Heaps.
Does it?
It's absolutely priceless. That stuff is knowledge that I use every single day, whether it's at home on the simulator with my customers, at home on the simulator mucking around by myself, at the racetrack, preparation for events, everything. It's all that there is the foundation of what this is now.
Amazing. So valuable all these years on. We've begun on, some of your dad's work that he does on cars. I mean, he still pulls the helmet on himself. And I've had the joy of seeing him do that. But it's worth sharing with people that may not know that your mum's been a pretty handy steerer too, mate, hasn't she?
Yeah, mum used to race. She was in go-karts. I don't think she ever raced cars, although she might have done a couple laps around Terratonga and Dad's old Lotus replica, the Leitch Super Sprint. But yeah, mum used to race karts. She started racing just after mum and Dad had met. And I think at some point she was beating Dad, so that was pretty funny.
Really?
That was a good story, yeah. Yeah, and then when I started racing and was probably a couple of years into it, Dad built her a go-kart up, and she did a couple of races and a few ladies' days races as well. And she loves being involved in it and done it for a very long time.
Marguerite, amazing human being. They tell me, both of them, kindly tell me that when you were about 5 years old, maybe just before your 6th birthday, you were allowed to do laps in a midget kart at the end of a race day at a track, and you were so excited by the prospect of this that I think around like 6:30 a.m. you're waking them up, like race suit kind of ready to go type thing. Is this true?
I didn't wake up and put my race suit on. I slept in it. That was just the way it went. I don't remember, but there's also a story of my brother going to sleep wearing his overalls and taking his little carry toolbox to bed as well. But it was a real toolbox, like a little snap-on carry box. That was just it.
Normal.
Yeah, loved it.
Did they, I think over one of those dinners, did they tell me, did you boys have I don't know whether it was a Shelby or what it was, but it was a toy car of some kind, and you could it was a bit bigger than a courtyard, but there was an outdoor kind of grassed area at home, and you guys just cut laps all the time in that thing.
Yeah. Mum used to get super frustrated because we'd just cut divots in the lawn, it rutted out. It was like an oval sort of thing. Dad built these half-size replica AC Cobras.
Oh, cool.
And also a Caterham Lotus 7 Leitch Super Sprint. So he would, we had one of each for not one of each car that, Damon and I would share. And I remember the Super Sprint was a bit lighter, it was a bit faster, but we just used to chase each other around the lawn in these things. They had a little Honda engine in them, like a little 160cc motor. So yeah, ever since Damon used to drive around the lawn and put me to sleep in the thing when I was 1 or 2 years old for my nap in the afternoon. So that was a common occurrence. But then, when I got a bit older and I started driving it myself at 3 years old, and then started to drive the midget at 5.
Yep.
And obviously racing as soon as it was possible at 6. I think I did my first race. My birthday might have been on the Monday or Tuesday. So back then, I mean, how many years ago was that? Kart Sport New Zealand gave me a dispensation to do my first race when I was like, 5 and 360 days. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Couldn't wait to do it. Hey, we'll come to your brother in a moment, but just to come to, some of the many cool cars that your dad has campaigned. One that is sort of uppermost in my mind is that Ralt RT4, the Formula Atlantic, right? The Jacques Lafitte car, Jetan livery. I love that thing. Have you had a chance to drive that? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I raced it. I was really lucky. 2013 or 14, I did the Lady Wigram Cup in it, which was
Mega.
a historic race for Atlantic.
But people don't know
then.
that's actually a very special thing too in New Zealand, isn't it?
So
it was.
And it's so much fun to drive. It's really cool. It has an in-car roll bar adjustment. So, I mean, for me, growing up in junior formula, it was, you never had that. I mean, they do in America now and some of the junior formula stuff, but I thought that was such a cool novelty to have the front end of your roll bar. You could adjust how much front grip you had in the car while you're driving. And, I mean, you've got a 5-speed H-pattern gearbox there and just trying not to over-rev the thing, and just felt, I don't know, they feel a very different to the cars of now.
Chapo's a journo. He would say probably like visceral, like a real kind of driver's car, magic sound.
Absolutely.
And you've got
like you feel everything in the seat of your pants, and it's just every, I don't know, it's just, there's something about it that just feels super special and very different to what we race now. And it's a very, very fortunate experience that I got to have to drive that. And I can only imagine what that was like in the 80s when they were racing those things all around the globe. I mean, over in New Zealand and Australia and then in America and the Atlantics as well. They were just a crazy car for a 1600cc. They were a small engine, and they just produced so much downforce and grip. For 1980s, it was the next best thing to Formula One. It was what they were all driving when they went at a Grand Prix.
Great chapter, and New Zealand really embraced it. You mentioned your brother Damon before. I mean, he works at Highlands nowadays, so I get to see him in that instructor kind of capacity. I've had the joy of watching him wheel the legs, if you like. I'm using the wrong phrase or terminology here, but I'm wheeling a McLaren GT3 car really handily. What about his own career, mate? Maybe the kind of unrealised potential there, and just a reflection on him as a racer.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Damon, he still is a really good driver. Yeah. Back until I started racing, like every other weekend, he was better than me, and it was like I knew it. He was just something, I don't know, I didn't even know what it was, but I just remember watching him when I was younger, and he was in TRS and the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand, and Daniel Kvyat was his teammate, and Daniel and him were fighting for the front row of the grid every other weekend with Nick Cassidy and Mitch Evans and these guys as well, all around that same time. And then I think in 2015 was the last year he did that championship, and I think he just lost a little bit of the passion for the finding. I mean, it's a very hard thing to do to keep going and finding all the sponsors, and he was quite a reserved bloke back then, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a lot more outspoken now, and as he got older, but yeah, when he was a bit younger, he was a bit more quiet, and that's where you could see Damon and I were very different, but on track, I mean, very similar. And he was a driver that I think now that if he kept going, he would be, at the top of the sport somewhere for sure. He deserved to be, and he just found his passion in other things, and that's it.
Can we tap into what you were just discussing there around the kind of commercialities and learning a bit about that when you're younger? So your dad tells me that you were super determined at one point to go Formula Ford racing. This is probably about age 13. But Damon is already racing at this point. So the challenge for the family of, two racing budgets is going to be a massive thing. He recalls you being absolutely unfazed by this, and you kind of set out to knock on doors everywhere in Invercargill, maybe even beyond, and you had this big pile of sponsor proposals, and every day after school you basically filled your backpack, jumped on your bike and went door knocking up and down every street to businesses. Were you naturally comfortable doing that? You were forcing yourself because you were so passionate about it? What were you doing?
I mean, in the beginning, Mum just made me do it. She's like, Brendon, if you want to race, this is what you've got to do. We can't afford to fund a racing career. So I was, and being young and naive, I was like, that can't be too tricky. We'll just find a way. So
what were the reactions from people? Because racing and our business can often have so many no's, mate, so many knockbacks. As a young fellow, what are you, 13 here? How are you coping with that?
I just had to get stuck in. I knew that if I wanted to drive the race car, I needed to find the money for it, and that was enough for me to say, this is how do I get from A to B, and it's this way. So I just made my own proposal. I made it in PowerPoint, and then Mum and Dad looked at it and helped me with getting it better. And then I made a couple of phone calls, and I found a company which was really cool called IQ, Ray Tinker in Invercargill, and he said, okay, well, we'll print your proposals for you, and that's your sponsorship from us. So he printed hundreds of proposals and
Excellent.
bound them and everything, really good quality. I mean, the quality of the printing was far better than the workmanship inside that I'd done as a 13-year-old, but it was enough. And I took 10 proposals each day with me in my backpack to school. I biked to school. When I was a kid, it was Invercargill's not huge, so I think it was like a 20-minute bike ride to school. And then after school, I would go work in a workshop, an engineering workshop, and I would sweep the floors there. And then once I'd finished that, it was I'd go there for an hour, I think on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On those days, I would bike around and I'd just choose a street, and either in the industrial area or in town or on one of the side streets, and say, I'm just going to work my way down the street. And I just went into every company and just said, hi, my name's Brendon Leitch, I'm looking to race in the New Zealand Formula 4 Championship. This is the situation, and I was wondering if you'd like to have a look at my proposal. And that was it. I said the same line every time, but the repetition was what got me there in the end, and I must have handed out a couple of hundred at least proposals before I got my first dollar, and then that motivation just kept me going, and it's all possible. Nothing's changed now. It's just a different, you're looking for a different thing, looking for drives and
bigger number, more professional proposal, blah blah blah.
That's right. So it's everything that I did back then is very valuable, and it was just a big learning process. And I even had a little company where I bought myself a scanner, and I would go around all our friends and family and beyond, and I would scan negatives and slides and digitize them. And I got paid I can't remember what the price was. It might have been 10 cents a slide or 5 cents a slide. So if I
all helps.
Did a lot of those. I raised, I think, over $1,000, which was more than a set of tyres and for a Formula Ford. So all those little bits and pieces made a huge difference, and that's just the way it had to be. So I got it done.
Just to back you up, mate. I mean, your dad, in finishing that story, tells me about the response that people in Invercargill had. He said they were really impressed by your passion, your commitment, and it helped the journey begin. Give me some memories of that period for you. I mean, we're on the cusp of Formula Ford, clearly. What are you like as a school kid? Are you just hell-bent on going car racing? And what is the racing journey up until that point? I guess this is almost crossover point from early stuff into proper car racing. What had that been like?
Oh, I mean, I had to have been on the spectrum at some point, right? So,
aren't we all, mate?
Yeah, that's right. So, no, I was fully focused on racing. I think, I knew I loved cars and I loved working on cars, and every night I would be working on my go-kart at night with Dad to get it ready, and I had to clean it. That was part of the rules of going racing. If I always remember if my chain guard wasn't perfectly clean, I wasn't allowed to drive the kart. So it was. I mean, they definitely ingrained it into me from a young age that if you were going to do it, it needed to be done right. And lots of my memories from growing up are always just working on the go-karts, helping Dad in the shed, building the Formula Ford as well. Like when Damon was racing Formula Ford, I was out in the shed helping too, not because I maybe wanted to right then, but Mum would just tell me I had to go help in the shed, help Dad and Damon in the shed, and I'd go out there and get stuck in and, just cleaning parts or whatever. But I was involved in it, and that was all part of the process. And then, once I started racing, then it was my job to prepare my own car in the off season as a 13, 14, 15-year-old, and those skills just developed. And that's, when I left school as well, I started working as a mechanic for a guy in Invercargill called Scott O'Donnell. and
Fantastic.
I was helping out in his workshop, and the skills that I learnt from building my own cars with Dad and working in the workshop with him was why Scott gave me the chance to come and work for him straight out of school. I didn't have a qualification. I wasn't doing like big jobs, but I was helping and getting things done there too.
He's become a very prominent figure in Invercargill now, a stakeholder obviously at Walkinshaw and so on, and absolutely loves his racing. We have Mr. Hidden Talent of yours here. Marguerite tells me you would make hundreds of cheese rolls and Christmas truffles. Are you a good cook? How much did this help the racing funds?
I remember making the cheese rolls, but I only remember because you've told me now. I kind of erased that from my brain, I think. I can't remember what the recipe was. I know there was definitely white bread, because brown bread and cheese rolls was just not a go. And the cheese rolls obviously are just Southland sushi. We made hundreds and hundreds of those, and the truffles we didn't raffle off those, but they were gifts to all the people that sponsored me through the series. So we'd do them at Christmas time as a Christmas gift for all the supporters and sponsors of mine back then. Okay. So maybe I need to get back onto it, making the old truffles for Christmas. Yeah,
definitely. I'll try some of those. Yeah. Now, in the junior phase and what New Zealand does with its summer of racing and so on, mate, there's a period here probably where it's, I don't know, whatever it is, 5 weekends a year, shoestring budget, but I mean, up against some future F1 stars, but then not much else for the rest of the year. What was that sort of phase like?
That was the hardest bit, probably, like coming into that season, and I mean, not having any experience. I didn't know any better, so that's fine. That was probably the best bit about it, was, again, probably my naivety. But I just did what I could with the tools that I had, and then the season was over, and it was, again, what's the next step? And then again, for 10 months of the year, I didn't drive anything at all, really, until I was 19, and I got a job at Highlands. And then I was working as a mechanic and doing my apprenticeship there.
Were you a good employee at Highlands? What were you like?
I think so. I think I was pretty good.
I need to fact check this, but anyway, I didn't have time. Keep going.
Trust me.
Okay, right.
No, it was good. I did my apprenticeship there with them. It was really good. And then I was also doing hot laps 1 or 2 days a week as well.
Oh, good.
So
there were miles, even if it wasn't...
I was driving, I was driving at that point. But up until then, I wasn't doing too much. And I was just taking punters for rides at, 60%, 70%, depends on, how you look at it. But it was in a more safe environment, trying to minimise risk. So you're not giving it everything. So it's not quite like going testing and being able to change the car. You're not making adjustments to the ride heights, changing the wing angles, the roll bars, kinematics, whatever you want. So all these miles weren't quite as good as, like doing 200 days of testing in a Formula 3 car and all around Europe. It makes a huge, huge difference. The more you drive, the faster you get, the more confidence you get. The more confidence you get, the faster you go. And then the circle repeats, right? So it's all about mileage. And if there's any, you need to find any way you can to drive more. That's the key to the whole thing. And back then I just did what I could, and that was all I could do. And I was just, obviously driving well enough, and had a really good car for a few years there, and it showed what I was probably capable of. And I was very, very fortunate to have the backing of Dale ITM, Deb and Marty, and they've been beside
Great
me.
People.
Absolutely amazing people. And they've been behind me the whole way since 2014 was the first time they came on board and supported me. And I had the same phone call with Deb that I just told you, I just introduced myself and told them what I was doing and asked if they'd like to have a look at the proposal. And that's how the relationship began. And it just flourished into their support became amazing. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gone overseas, and I would probably just be working as a mechanic. So I'm, super grateful for the opportunity that they gave me, and then that led on into create a lot more opportunities. But again, if it wasn't for that first hurdle, I wouldn't have got to where we are now and in this position. So
before we move to that, can you just rattle off for people listening and maybe watching some of the names that you battled over the summer in New Zealand and what that was like, mate?
2014, I was still figuring it out, and I can't really remember too many of the drivers there. I know my brother was there at the front. He was fighting for the title. 2015 was the year Lance Stroll won the championship. And Santino Ferrucci was there as well, and there was about 3 or 4 other guys that all became GT3 Works drivers now. Charlie Eastwood was there, and he's racing in WEC, now a Corvette driver. Into 2016 was the year of Lando Norris, and Lando won it that year, and Jahan Daruvula came second. I was third. Behind me was Ferdinand Habsburg, Alpine hypercar driver now. Fifth was Pedro Piquet, son of Nelson Piquet.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. That year was huge. Actually, the majority of that field, I think 16 or 17, are all professional drivers now. And then the year after that was Marcus Armstrong. And the list goes on. Liam Lawson was there in 2019 in my last full season of the championship. And Lucas Auer as well. I raced a couple of times too. And, you know, I bump into Lucas quite a lot in the paddock now in GT3 racing the Mercedes. And he's also racing the Mercedes. So it's pretty cool to still be rubbing shoulders with these guys and now racing against them and at a completely different level and, you know, completely different mindset too.
Before we move to sort of overseas adventures, proudest moment at home in New Zealand? Because there is such a rich fabric, such a rich history of racing there. What's the big thing for you?
The big thing for me, it's still stuck with me, is when I won the Spirit of a Nation Cup in 2015. That was the turning point for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first full season where Deb and Marty supported me, and we scraped through that season on the shoest of shoestring budgets, so much so that by the time we got to Palmerston North, the last round in Manfield, we didn't have enough. I didn't have enough budget for tyres, so I just did the whole practice on the sets from the rest of the championship and Victory Motor Racing, now known as Kiwi Motorsport. They obviously helped me get through on that, and I'm super grateful for that as well. But yeah, that was the Spirit of a Nation was the cool one. That was the one where Lance Stroll came third in the race. There was a big stack of drivers there that gone on to do big things, but that was the first time I put it on pole and then won the race. It was the feature race as well, so the big trophy for my hometown of Invercargill.
Excellent.
Was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, you've just reminded, I think, young racers, right, of the importance of hunger, right, and therefore what you then savour when you finally are able to achieve something special like this. Damon tells me in that first season of TRS, you fundamentally begged, borrowed, almost kind of stole from people in the team to get through the series. He says, I have plenty, but I probably shouldn't broadcast those things publicly. How much of a struggle was all of that, mate?
That was tough. The first year, it was. I remember I was often using Damon's tyres. I remember the first event, we had this rookie test on the Wednesday, day off on Thursday, and then into it Friday. And I got through the whole Wednesday, maybe Thursday as well, and Friday on one set of tyres at Te Rotanga. I mean, it's a short circuit, did a lot of laps, but I just remember coming onto the front straight on Friday afternoon, just pulling gears and the thing just wheel spinning like nothing else. And just that was all I could do. And then Damon started giving me some of his old hand-me-down tyres. So he'd be doing quali sims and race runs, and then I'd get them after that and take whatever was left in the tyre. And obviously, for anyone that's watching it, the fall off of a tyre is humongous after you've done a race on it. You know, the tyres have got to 100 degrees, and you're pretty much just scraping the bottom of the barrel, and brake pads and stuff from him as well, and anyone else in the team that would give me any of the leftovers. And that's just what I had to do.
That's what you do, mate.
I couldn't afford to chuck new pads in and throw new tyres on the car, and if I could have, sure, things might have been different, but I think it's all part of the journey. And I look back now and I think that's pretty crack up, really, that we just did it that way.
The family for you is backbone of your racing journey, obviously, but often there are people that inspire along the way, and the Kiwis have this unbelievable, Australians too, but New Zealand especially for its size, its population, does so well. What is it, mate? I mean, you're from the bottom of the South Island, a small city, a small town. Yeah. There, and you go on to do some things and still are doing some things globally. What is it, mate, about all that stuff?
I think it's just the determination. I think coming from such a small country, I mean, now it's pretty cool for all the young and up-and-coming drivers. They have so many professional New Zealand drivers around the world to look up to and say that, you know, from all different walks of life, and there's opportunity out there, but you've got to want to take it. Like.
Have there been people that have been good at supporting you in that sense, or just, maybe even just a little bit of advice,
Mum
or a little?
Dad. Absolutely, Mum and Dad. Like, Mum is for sure the hard tasker, I'd say, out of the two. And I remember many conversations, and I wanted to I can't be bothered doing this. I don't want to do this. I just want to play video games, or I just want to go hang out with my mates. She's like, Brendon, if you want to race cars, this is what you've got to do. And if you don't want to do these, you don't want to race cars, and that's fine. Go hang out with your friends, and we'll go sell the Formula Ford or whatever. And I'm up and about. And, that's, when you're young, of course you want to go muck around and play with your mates, but you've got to want to do these things, and I think it's all part of it. If you're not determined and you're not motivated, then it's like anything in life. I think you've just got to want to do it really badly, and if you do, then you'll make it work.
So take us to that next step, going from TRS and sort of endurance stuff in New Zealand to then double duties in Asia, racing Lamborghini and Formula 3. Where did the whole idea of going racing abroad come from? What drove that? What sparked that? And how did it all get started?
Well, it was definitely Deb. She put a lot of trust in me and knew that I had the potential to do some cool things. And at the beginning of 2017, we were racing in New Zealand, and I just had a huge crash in Palmerston North at Manfield, where I just did a triple somersault, which wasn't very fun.
Take people to that.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It got a lot of views for a little New Zealand clip, and I was just, I had another bad quality probably, and I was just stuck behind a couple of guys, and they were fighting. They had contact, and I was less than a metre away from them, really close, and I just had nowhere to go, and I just flew straight over the back of the guy and then just nosedived to the dirt. And I remember it happening in slow motion, like when you go over the handlebars on a push bike and you have that sick feeling in your stomach. I still remember that. And I hit the ground, and then the thing just pirouetted, and the G meter went off the chart. I broke a bone in my hand. It was amazing how safe.
Not enough to scare you?
No, not at all. No, it was all good. The cars are so safe now. It's just incredible. For short touring cars, you've got a roof over your head. It's a little bit safer again. You've no exposure at all. But yeah, it was probably that period of time, that Saturday night, I was sitting there. I was a bit gutted about everything. And I was like, what's going to happen? I don't know what I'm doing now. And Deb's like, no, let's go. Let's go overseas. So we worked with Gary Orton, who owned the team I was driving for in New Zealand. Great person, mate. Yeah, he gave me the opportunity to go over there. We did it again. We did it on a shoestring budget. We tried to minimise costs as much as we could, and we went over there and we did a good job. For the equipment we had at the time, it was Gary's first year in America. We tried to develop this Formula 4 car for him as well as we could. We got some really good results, got a lot of podiums, won a race as well. And then 2018, I didn't race overseas. I raced in New Zealand in the Mercedes. It was my first time driving a touring car, racing the Mercedes SLS AMG. It was really cool in New Zealand for a small team that doesn't exist anymore. And we just had some fun in New Zealand. Deb really really pushed for me to enjoy my racing. I was pretty stressful at that time. I tried so hard to get to that point, and then I became, I guess, I just found it hard to not put pressure on myself. And she really pushed for me to make sure I'm having fun with my racing.
Deb did. You did. Yeah. Nice.
Deb. If I wasn't having fun, there was no point to do it. So she was great from that side of things, just emphasizing that I should be enjoying myself. And I was, but I was just putting too much pressure on myself to perform, and that all is a bit in a roundabout way. Now I pass that on to my teammates that I race with, and you've got to be having fun, and when you're having fun, you're going fast. That's just the way it goes. So anyway, 2018 raced in New Zealand, and then in 2019 I got the opportunity to race in Formula 3 with a team in Asia. I got a call from the team owner, and he offered me this opportunity to come and drive for them. I was like, well, this is the first. I've never had someone just call me and say, we've got this car, we want you to come and do a test, and if it goes well, we haven't had a good season last year, and we want you to come and develop the car for us, and see if we can get to the front. And it was really fun. That year was great. And at the same time, Deb was pushing for me to go to touring cars and to try and chase the GT career. So yeah, 2019 I raced in Super Trofeo Asia and Formula 3 often double duties on the same weekends, which was really much trickier than I told everybody it was. And one situation in Suzuka, I finished the race in Super Trofeo. We won the race in our class. Came into the pits. The F3 race started straight after that. I ran down to the car, jumped straight in there, still in my Lambo suit. Went out the pits, and as I came out of the pits, I got on the gas off the pit limiter, full throttle, and then hit the brakes like I had ABS and just torched the front tyres, completely destroyed them on the way out, just because I'd just come out of the Super Trofeo with anti-lock braking. So, yeah, it was a tricky one, but that was the turning point for me. I had an amazing driver coach that year, and Simon he was there this weekend. We were racing at Suzuka, and I had the driver coach. His name's Richard Bradley. He's a great guy. Lives in the UK, and after the qualifying session, I had fired the car off at Degner 2 in the middle of Suzuka, and I came in and he absolutely destroyed me. Like,
tore you a new one.
Tore me a new one for it. And what are you doing? If this, if that, this is what you need to be doing. You need to be doing a better job here. And really did a great job of explaining what I needed to do. But at the same time, I just felt terrible for it. And that was like the turning point for me. I'd never had a driver coach before, past Damon in New Zealand. So it was going overseas and having this next step. I needed something to get me forward. And that weekend was the turning point for me, where the performance started to come. And then after that, the rest is history. That's where the performance began. And it was all because Richard had an amazing wealth of knowledge. He raced, 24 hours of Le Mans, LMP2, lots of LMP2 experience. Now he just does historic racing for fun, and he does a bit of P2 stuff as well. But he taught me so much on that championship in Formula 3 that it progressed my current racing so much.
You mentioned sim there before and so on. You actually enjoy that aspect of it, don't you, mate? The learning, the knowledge. I'm not articulating that right, but you know where I'm going from.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to learn from that. I race around so many tracks in the world now, and often I'm going to a new circuit. We just finished in Mandalika in Indonesia, which was a brand new circuit to me and never been there before. Can watch video, but nothing beats driving on it. So I managed to find a good track mod on my simulator and jump on there and cut lots and lots of laps. And straight away we got there, and in the first session we were right at the top of the times. Like in the first run in the car, I knew the Ferrari already from the first round. Didn't know the track, but I knew exactly where I needed to brake. I knew exactly what gear I needed to be in, and then all it was looking for the last 1%. So you just jump straight in. So that
tool is really, for people, it's really helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, because the GT3 car costs somewhere between 20 and 30 euros per kilometre, right, to run. So you don't want to be cutting laps for no reason, right? So when you get to the circuit and you waste 5 laps, that's, it's a lot of mileage on the parts that is not necessary. Where you can do this, you end up saving a lot of money, a lot of time. You're limited with your driving time on a race weekend. You have limited sessions, 1 hour sessions through both days, on a Thursday and a Friday in Asia, and on a Friday here in Australia. But you just gain such a wealth of knowledge. You can change things on the sim. They often have an impact like they would in real life. It's just so relative to what we do. You
don't mind sharing that stuff on socials too, like in the lead up to we're at Taylor and Bend here, the Bend Motorsport Park. I think you shared a vid of a lap round here, which you kind of commentate and do it in a manner that is descriptive, helpful. Did I spot Shane Van Gisbergen diving into the comments recently and taking the mickey out of you or something or other about an Apex? So I can't remember where that was, but there's a bit of banter in that stuff, isn't there?
I think it was around the conversation of A-rated and B-rated drivers and supercars, and I won't mention who it was, but he's a good character. I do a lot of sim racing with Shane for fun now and keep in touch with him, but yeah, he likes to get up in the comments, and it's good whenever he gets in the comments. The videos go great, so for me it's perfect. And yeah, absolutely, I tried to do a V8 supercar lap at Ruapuna, and I just sailed on past the apex of turn 1 to start the lap, and
you were straight onto it, wasn't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Rental car adventures in Japan. I may or may not have had a bit of help from Simon Chapman here. Tell me about rental car adventures in Japan.
Yeah, I mean that was Suzuka. That was an eventful weekend. We were just talking about, and we had I can't remember exactly what kind of car it was, but it was definitely a petrol car. Anyway, we're on our way back from Suzuka, about to fly out back to New Zealand. Near the airport, need to fill the car back up with fuel. So that's fine. Just looking around on Google Maps there, where can we go? We found a gas station. And in New Zealand, petrol is a green handled pump and diesel is black, right?
Oh no, mate, no.
I don't speak much Japanese apart from arigato. So yeah, it was a bit of a situation where we came in and filled up, and I kind of wondered, paid, oh man, it's pretty cheap. Fuel's pretty cheap here. I've taken this green handle and tried to plug it in, and so long story short, the diesel fuel pump nozzles are actually fatter than the petrol ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was young, dumb, and I didn't realise this. So I'm going in there, I've got this handle, this green handle, I put it up there, I'm like, oh, Simon, it doesn't fit in the hole. And I was like, oh, whatever, I just, squeeze the trigger like softly so I could still get the fuel in. I was like, oh, something's wrong, that's weird. Filled the thing to the top, was very low fuel, so I mean, it made quite a difference. Filled her up, didn't think anything of it. Man, that was pretty cheap, cheap to fill it up. Start driving on our way back to the airport. We're about 5 minutes away and get to the final toll booth. And I started to pull in there. Oh, good. I thought I heard a bit of a splutter, but I was like, oh, no, it's all good. It's in my head. Pull in, pay the toll, gate opens, go to get on the throttle, and the thing just starts coughing and moving at like 2 kilometers an hour. I'm like, oh no, what's going on here? And then I just look straight across at Simon and I'm like, mate, we've definitely done something wrong here. Pull over on the side of the road, just past the final toll booth. I'm like, what do we do? We're early 20s. I'm absolutely packing myself here. I'm like, oh no, like Deb's going to be so upset. What's going on? What am I going to do? This is it. I'm over. I'm done. Get out of the car, get our bags out. Like, what are we going to do? We just had the hazards on. Lock the car. Take the keys with us. Hitchhike for the first time in my life. Who pulls up but like a typical Toyota Hiace van, like a silver Hiace van with 4 Japanese builders in it. I can't speak a word of English. Here's me with Google Translate and Simon. We're there and we're like, airport. And they're like, oh yeah, like flying, yep. Like, perfect. Yeah, jump in. And they open up the back. There's just tools and stuff in there, and just throw our bags in, jump sit on top of the bags. The car's just still sitting beside the final toll booth. On our way to the airport there, not a word, just, thank you very much. Pull and stop. Do you want something for it? No. Okay, carry on. Walk over to the rental car company and, hey guys, look, something's wrong. Something's wrong with the car. It's it just completely stopped, and they're like, yeah, we know. They have a camera at the front of the toll booth, and they just see us pull over the park. Here's the keys. We've got a flight to catch.
Let me know how that goes.
I never heard anything else. I never heard another thing. So it was an experience.
Oh
Definitely
man,
a life
I'll
experience. And then Simon gave me a little model car of a Toyota silver Hiace van, identical. And
as a reminder,
it still sits in my childhood bedroom in Invercargill, right next to some trophies there from Japan. So
awesome, mate. Awesome. You're talking about a number of things here that are approaching the pandemic. How much did the pandemic impact where you were going, your plans, and what you were doing, and so on?
Oh, massively. So end of 2019, I got the opportunity to go to Europe and test the Lamborghini GT3 car for the first time, current spec car. With the manufacturer and with Leitch Motorsport, they were doing a test for the team to try and gather customers and put a program together for 2020. So we went over there and got some laps in the car. It was great, came home, and then I was like, okay, well, how can I get there? What's the next step? Very grateful to have some sponsors come on board, obviously including Deb and Marty, and we got ready to go. But flights were booked for the 31st of March 2020. Got to the 17th of March 2020, and we're in lockdown. What's going to happen? So couldn't go. Cancelled the flights and got a refund. And then I was just sitting there at home, like everyone else was. What am I going to do? Got to the point where I was considering to stop and wasn't sure what to do. it was really cool that New Zealand, we kind of opened back up a little bit there, and we could get racing, and we put together a program in an old Audi R8 LMS, one of the first generation cars, which was really cool looking back on, like a cool car to go racing in. A great little car. And we did the South Island Endurance Championship there. And then by the time we got into that, and I was like, I was properly G'd up again. I was like, Deb, I don't want to stop. Like, let's do this properly. And
Molly Taylor talks, mate, in that period about chasing borders kind of thing and chasing opportunities where you could. I mean, did it come to sort of that sort of thing for you, or not as
honestly,
bad as
I tried so hard to that point for then the biggest opportunity that I was ever going to get at that point to fall over. I was ready to pull the pin. I didn't feel like racing, and Deb really talked me into doing this Cerdic that year. And as soon as I got back out there, I mean, I was back in love with it, and everything was back on track. But
is that the closest moment you've come to stopping?
Yeah, 100%. That's the closest moment, and probably the only moment I ever had where I felt like I maybe think about giving it up. And I was already a qualified mechanic at that point. I was doing lots of driver coaching in New Zealand with Downforce and a few other customers there, and I was like, I'm fine, I'll just do this, and that's going to be great. I'm going to get a house and have a garden and whatever. And then I got myself sorted out and got back on track, and then we started to put together the program for 2021, and regardless of what COVID was doing, we were going to go do it. So then flights were rebooked for 20th of April 2021. I still remember these days because they were so massive in my career, and that was the day I went over to Europe for the first time and was going to live over there and be with Leitch Motorsport and put together a program to race in Europe, and that was the first time I raced semi-professionally in a GT3 car over in Europe. And
tell me about that, mate. I mean, effectively pro, first international GT3 race. Where were you? Take people there.
Oh, Hockenheim. It was a Hockenheim 12-hour. I've been in the country for just under a month, and I was working I was there as a driver coach in Super Trofeo Europe. With a now good friend of mine. Then Hockenheim was the first race I did, so I was G'd up by this point because I'd just been, itching to get in the car. I was just driver coaching, and at Monza, Hockenheim 12-hour, we won the race. It was awesome. We couldn't have had a better debut with the car. Everything went absolutely perfectly. I mean, I can't remember a lot of the race, just that I remember finishing the race, and we had a real good battle with a couple of cars at the front. I was top 3 cars all neck and neck, and we were in the fight, and we won it. It was such a cool race.
Amazing.
And that's where it all kicked off.
That's huge, mate. As we move forward here, there are scraps with the likes of Valentino Rossi. There's lots of legends in the GT3 class. You are on the big stage, mate. Did you feel like you were kind of meant to be there? Are you small fish, big pond? Well, what's the sensation? What are you feeling like?
Very small fish, big pond feeling for the first couple of years. In 2021, those endurance races I did were great for me to really understand how GT3 racing works on the other side of the planet. Endurance racing, how that works at a top level. You enjoyed that?
Yeah,
absolutely. It was hard. It was really good to challenge myself, and I was, I wasn't just hunting for a sprint race. I was in for a long distance race. It's a very different feeling when you're pushing for 25 minutes, when you're trying to challenge your own time for 2 hours, and you're absolutely exhausted by the end of the second hour, and just trying to squeeze every bit of lap time out and try and make your stint, get as many laps as possible within that stint. So managing the traffic was something that I wasn't used to before. I ended up taking out a TCR car at that Hockenheim race, just went beside him, and he just turned in and just sent him off into the fruits and veggies. There was lots of different dynamics going on. First time working with a German team. I didn't speak any German.
Yeah. Can you speak it now? Can you speak a bit now?
Not really. No, okay. A little bit. I can speak a little bit, but it's very limited. And I didn't put too much effort into that. What did I say to myself? I was like, the effort that I'm putting into learning a language, I could be spending on the simulator.
Okay.
So that was the way I approached it all. But for me in 2021, it was really important. And 2022 was when I first raced in GT World Challenge Europe, and that is
huge,
the biggest GT3 championship in the world. It's Spa 24-hour. Back then it was the 3 hours of Imola, 24 hours of Spa, Barcelona, Hockenheim, and one other track I can't remember.
Far
right
out, mate.
now,
I mean, this is a heck of a roll call
yeah.
of amazing places.
That's right. And I did the first race. I did an amazing job in qualifying, and I remember how good the lap was, and I qualified 41st. Yeah. And that was a humbling moment, and I was like, oh my gosh, like how and why, and that was when I started to put all the pieces together from when I was a kid and add to that knowledge and understand, like, where's the time? How can I find it? What does the car need? What do I need? And all of these pieces now have to come together at the right time perfectly to be at the front. And, I was racing that same weekend where I qualified 41st at Imola. It was round one. I just put it on pole on Super Trofeo Europe on debut. So it was, but I did the pole first, and then we had our first race in Trofeo, and then I went and had that quali, and that was a very humbling moment for me. But it's such a important thing to have a team, and racing and endurance racing especially. There's definitely no I in the team.
In all of that.
Yeah.
I love the growth here, mate, and the way you've looked within yourself for that. You fundamentally become a bit of a gun for hire here, right? Why is the racing in Pro-Am about more, I think, than what you just do in the car? It's about the relationships, it's about rapport, it's about fostering and building up the AM drivers and so on. There is a lot more to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's these guys that I race with, they're here to have fun, but they're super competitive and they want to get better. So for us, it's not only do you have to be fast, be a rocket, but you've got to be super personable. Like, no one likes to...
That comes easy to you now. I don't know if it did it when you were younger, but it comes
easy
now.
So easily to me. I didn't used to be so good with people, but it's one of those things that you just acquire over time and experience. And, it's important to be... Again, this is where I come back to the having fun thing. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? And, the lap time's just going to come at some point. And if everything else comes together for you, if you're driving well, you're always going to be having a good time, right? So it's just trying to pick yourself up, or pick these guys up when they're having a bad day and dust them off and say, like, I know you can do better than this. This is not you. Like, just close the door, get back out there and do another run and push on. I know you can do it. You've just got to, believe in yourself a bit. The car can do it. I know you can do it. You just got to get it done now.
Is there a track you haven't done that you would like to do? And Suzuka, Hockenheim, legendary places. Is there a little fave there for you too, mate, of the international stuff?
The only one I can think of right now is Daytona that I haven't competed on. I mean, I did Le Mans in 2023 in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. I didn't do the 24-hour, but we had a really awesome weekend in Le Mans Cup that weekend, and I just missed out on the podium from a silly little mistake that I made. So it was super close. But yeah, 24 hours of Daytona is one race that I really want to do, and it's a track I want to drive. But yeah, those two races are the races I've got to tick off for sure, Daytona and Le Mans.
When did you get kind of that confidence in your own ability, mate, and not feeling that need you talked about before to prove yourself, the pressure and so on? When did that come? Probably,
3 or 4 years ago in Asian Le Mans, I think, 2022 or 3, 2023. We turned up there. It was the first time I ever drove a factory car, the car had been with the factory and prepared, and we had all the engineers around us from the manufacturer to support us where we needed it. And I had really cool teammates and Gabriel Rendon and Marco Mappelli. And Marco is a world-class driver. Anybody that knows motorsport knows Marco, and as one of the best sports car drivers in the world. And to race with him and learn from him was a huge thing. And the first time that I'd probably been in a situation in a GT3 car where I was in the same car, I was the chaser. So it was a massive learning opportunity for me, and to be, Marco was for sure better than me, and to be close with him, and and learn from him and just keep trying to get as close to him as possible was the point where I realized, oh man, I'm not really too bad at this anymore.
Excellent.
Like, I'm doing a good job here, and the team did a great job, the manufacturer did a great job, and all the drivers, we did an awesome job. And we ended up with 2 podiums in Abu Dhabi that year in Asian Le Mans, and we just missed out on top 3 in the Asian Le Mans series by a couple of points. It was very, very tight at the end. And then we went back the following year, and we just missed out on the championship due to one race where we had an issue. So, like, it was that Asian Le Mans series was a turning point for me where I started to trust myself and that I could do it. And
was it a conscious park your nerves thing, or was it just more that the results were there and that
the results were there. I was able to. I knew that I could do it then. I was like, well, now I've proved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then an accumulation of that and some knowledge. And I say, oh, you know what? If I can't do it, it's just not meant to be that day, And that's just how it sort of came together for me and how I built my confidence off it.
When did you meet, and maybe I'm jumping around in the timeline here, mate, forgive me if I've missed some gaps, but when did you meet Tim Miles? Can we talk about Timmy now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I met Tim in 2013, I think it was. It was when I was racing the Atlantic at Wigram. And I remember I was lining up at scrutineering. My brother was racing in another RT4. And here's Andy McElrea and Tim Miles.
You can't miss those two when they turn up in those moments.
Yeah, I think let's just say I think it was 5 o'clock.
Okay.
At a historic event. And Tim and Andy were out there, working on their cars a little bit, I think, but it was just more yapping than working. But we were parked up there, and I just, in the distance, just heard this voice, is that those Leitch buggers? And I'm like, I've never heard this voice before. I look over, and here, sure enough, here's Tim just like absolutely chuffed with himself, and I'm like,
laughing at his own gag. Yes,
absolutely. So, that was the first time I'd met Tim and Andy, and the relationship built from there. And then when they would come over to Queenstown, I was working at Highlands. I'd often go over and meet up with Andy and Tim and Hunter McElrea, Andy's son, kick around with Hunter a bit, and I remember us going on the luge and doing all sorts of fun stuff. So we kept in touch ever since then, and then the opportunity to race with Tim came, which was I got.
Is there a bit of period of uncertainty there, and maybe he sort of came about, and maybe a Crossroads or something or other? What transpired there?
Yeah, 100%. That was the turning point for me in my professional career, I would say, is when Tim gave me the opportunity. I was in the end of 2023. I came back and did the Highland 6 Hour with Tim. It was the first time I raced with him, and we had a great weekend. It was so much fun. We missed out on the win, and we had a small fuel issue which cost us through no fault of anybody, apart from we just tried to cut it so fine, and we missed out. But we had such a fun weekend. I kept in touch with Tim obviously frequently, and after that, he started talking about wanting to do some racing with me, and I was like, I didn't think so much of it then. I was laser focused on becoming or trying to become a Lamborghini factory driver. I had just that weekend was the weekend before the final round of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, where after the 6 hour race I flew straight back there to compete in the last round, and we won the European Championship. Mega, mate. And then Tim started talking about potentially doing some racing in Australia, and he was looking at coming back and to GT3, and he wondered what I was doing, would like to come and race with him. And that's how the opportunity came about, and I wasn't sure because I was still really trying at the end of 2023 to get that factory drive, and obviously didn't come in the end. Went into Asian Le Mans with Marco and Gabby again, and we had a successful campaign, and we got another couple of trophies. We even won a race on the track and got it taken off us for an infringement. And then I went back to Europe and was wondering what I was going to do next. Actually, at that point, at the end of Asian Le Mans, I had not a single drive for 2024.
Far out.
I'm like, well, what am I going to do here? And I had an email from someone, and they said, look, we want you to do this championship, and I knew full well that the customer that they wanted me to race with was not going to be competing that year. So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Later on, he ended up leaving, and we're getting told to leave, and I ended up with no drive. So I talked to Tim and said, hey, like, you still want a co-driver for this championship in Australia? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Like, I haven't got anyone sorted yet. Would you like to come do it? I said, absolutely, keen as. And that was the point where I really pivoted my career, and we moved to Australia, my partner and I, my fiance and I, a partner at the time. And we moved over here, Sydney, sight unseen, never been here before. And yeah, started competing with Tim in Australia, and then it was a very busy year, 2024, in terms of I didn't have anything, so I was trying so hard to get every drive possible, and got some really cool opportunities that year.
Together, mate, I mean, I have very vivid memories of his drive at Phillip Island, and people like Paul Morris coming over and saying, mate, one of the best drives I've ever seen from you, Tim Miles. And you're in that kind of mentoring, coaching, whatever you want to call it, capacity that you are as the pro driver, if you like. You helped that, mate, didn't you? You know?
Absolutely. I mean, that first weekend that we spent together at Phillip Island, we had an amazing weekend. And I'd only had one weekend with Tim before that, so I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, what the dynamic might have been like in the car together, like, you know, what's the tension going to be like, and everything was really good. But after race one, we actually had in Tim's stint, he was a little bit upset with himself, and, you know, later on I figured out he just let a couple of cars pass, like one of his competitors or something, and we had a conversation on Sunday morning. I was like, look, like, this here, you didn't even fight, you just let him go. Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, you know, I just wasn't quite in the right headspace. And we ended up having a great result that first race anyway. It rained, and that's where I had an amazing race. I just flew through the field. It was really cool.
Epic,
it
mate,
was it was a real cool race that I always remember. And anyway, Sunday morning, sitting with Tim having a chat, and said, hey mate, like, come on, you can do better than this. This is not you. Like, get it together. And then the Sunday race too, he just put on an absolute masterclass of defence and brought the thing home and won our first race together in GT World Challenge. Amazing.
Can I ask you, mate, if you don't mind, about coping with his loss? You and I are recording this not quite 12 months since he left us. I don't often talk about it, but I can recall being with you on the grid at Sandown. Krause was with us, and this is post the funeral, right, which I'd done a bit of work on the MC side of it, and I privately felt very proud, because you want to do the best job you can in that moment and be strong for the family and so on. But man, I nearly broke on the grid there with you guys, and Krause sort of saved me and said, hey mate, you know, we got this, and blah blah blah, and I didn't want to get upset on camera. I don't think you could look at me at one point, so it was tough, all that, mate, wasn't it? It was really tough.
Yeah, that was hard. I mean, I actually missed his funeral because I had a race in South Korea, and Andy,
he would not have minded that, mate.
Absolutely.
He would not have minded that.
Andy and Tracy both said I had to go do it. Like, it was not a choice, and that ended up being with my co-driver now in Asia, who gave me an opportunity this year and racing in GT World Challenge. But yeah, that day on the grid and Sandown was very hard. It was probably the moment where it hit home for me that, you know, he'd gone.
Yeah, and that effervescent figure is not going to be in the pit lane anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And sitting in the car, I remember after the moment on the grid, I had to do a lap in the car, and I mean, it might have looked cool from the outside, but it was just the waterworks under the helmet. You know, for me, that was when I really, you know, hit me that open the door next time, and Tim's not going to be there ripping me out of the car. That's it. So yeah, it was a tough period, and I just tried my best to keep battling through. I sat in the corner of hospitality and in South Korea and watched the funeral, and it was great that I could feel like I was still involved, but it was a very hard time, and now I just feel more determined than ever to make everything work. Good for Tim. Yeah.
He can we talk about the Supercars test, mate? Because I think by the sounds of it, he played maybe a little part in helping some of that stuff come. Tell me about that.
Massive. He got that test for me, and he also got that drive for me in the Bathurst 12 of the first year I did it. So it was all a conversation with another New Zealander called Paul Forgy.
Yes.
And Forgy, gave me the opportunity to come and drive the car. But first, Tim had sold it that I was a gun for hire in the Lambo, which was true. So Adrian gave me the opportunity to come and race with them at the Bathurst 12 Hour. We had a great weekend together, and from that moment, Paul was super stoked to come and have me test the car, and we had a great test in Sydney. It's just a tricky situation, I think. To get an opportunity in Supercars would be great. I'd love to do a co-drive. For me, that's I'm very focused on my sports car career, but I think I'd make a damn good co-driver for sure.
Cool.
But
it went better, I think, than most people realise, mate. I'm pumping your tyres there, but that's, I think, the general feeling. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. No, look, I really want to do it. It's something that for sure, Tim was trying very, very hard to get that going for me.
Yep.
And at the moment, it hasn't got off the ground, but I'm confident that in the next couple of years, something will come together. But
good.
I'll just keep pressing on that, and I'm sure at some point my international endeavours will strike up a bit of interest from some of the team owners, and they can. Yeah, they'll be happy to give me the opportunity. The test day was really good in Sydney. Forgy was super impressed, and I mean he knew exactly what I could do. So he was like a bit of a proud dad moment. He's such
Excellent.
a good bugger, and it would have been great to race last year, but I'm sure it'll come. I'm pleased rather that you still have a strong want for that, and I look forward to the day that happens, mate. Can we come to where we are now? Firstly, of all the international stuff, what's the zenith moment for you? What's the thing that you're most proud of from all of that? Oh my gosh!
You talked title there a moment ago. You talked all sorts.
Yeah, look, there has to be probably a couple of moments, and I think I already spoke briefly about them. Would have been when I won the European Championship in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It was actually my first ever championship. I never won a national championship before leaving the country, so
that must have felt good, mate.
It did. It was definitely a little bit of weight off my shoulders. I knew it would come at some point, and the team trusted me in Leitch. They knew that if someone was going to get the job done, it was going to be me, and that definitely helped my confidence as well. And the second thing would have been the first race at Phillip Island in 2024, I think.
Cool.
I mean, there was many times in that championship where I was able to puff my chest out a little bit, but that was probably the first one, and the one that just gave me that momentum to keep pushing forward. I had a great engineer, great co-driver, good team, and it was just super fun to be racing here in Australia. It's Phillip Island was a track that I've been to growing up. I'd been there when I was like 3 years old. Dad was looking after historic cars there, so to go back there, I mean, when I'm growing up and to race there and compete, then still the current lap record holder there, so hopefully no one beats that. So it holds a little special spot in my heart, that one.
Definitely. What about the move to Tagani this year, how that's going? I feel like we're on the eve of the Ben round here, but even at Phillip Island, Sergio Perez showed some really good form there, mate. Are you enjoying working with that outfit? What's that been like?
100%. They would definitely be one of the best teams I've ever worked with. They are super professional. Those guys can make a car go fast for sure. They do a really good job.
Good vibe too. You go and there's often music playing and stuff in there.
And that also is right in me. It's all about having fun, and all those guys down there are happy to be here. They're enjoying themselves, and they're super competitive. They all want to win. Drivers, mechanics, engineers, the whole lot. So that's really important for me. And Nathan has done an amazing job with that team with the help of Matt. And I'm just super grateful that they gave me the opportunity to come and race for them. It was, middle end of last year. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with my Australian racing. I didn't have anything, and they called up and said, we want you because we don't want to be racing against you. So that was exactly what Matt said. So I'm sure I won't mind me saying that. But yeah, it's super cool. Sergio is an amazing driver. And to think that he's never had a driver coach until now, a proper race coach to race with, is just amazing. So he's just getting faster and faster.
He's loving
it, mate.
You can tell.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's driving really well and just getting better every time. and we're having heaps of fun doing it. So
that's good.
It's good.
Keep that mantra. Before I come to a couple of maybe nice lessons to end for young racers, stuff that you've learnt along the way through the hard graft, mate. You have shared an apartment with some mates that is a bit of fun. Can you tell me about what that life is like? I see some videos on socials from time to time. Tell me about the flatmates. Tell me about the fun that goes on there. And you, I think in the video side of things, this podcast has been a lovely discussion, which I've enjoyed, mate, but a bit more of your character comes out in that stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I haven't had too many flatmates over the years, but when I first moved to Australia, I moved in with Simon Chapman and James Pavey and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And
James works for Supercars, we should point out too.
It was a very motorsport orientated flat.
Crew, yes.
We called ourselves the River Road Racing Club. We still call ourselves that. That's still the name of our group chat.
Okay.
But no, we had heaps of fun. We enjoyed a lot of ice cream, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
And I turned Simon into a coffee snob.
Ooh.
And James too.
Oh.
Bought themselves a coffee machine. I thought they won't mind me saying that.
Turned them €4 on me. I didn't know about this.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah. So absolute connoisseur Simon is. He outdoes me these days. So that's been that's something. And then I've turned Simon back into a sim racer again. And
excellent.
Yeah, he's a NASCAR specialist.
Okay. We haven't touched on that before we go to these sort of bits of advice, mate. The sim racing stuff, how much you enjoy that and you're immersed in that and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the sim racing I do now mainly for fun and learning circuits, but also do a bit of driver coaching and that with
Sorry, that's where I was going.
Some of the guys I race with, so super, super useful for them. I would say it's more useful for them than it is for me because, it's just like being in a car in terms of, how you place the car, your pedal inputs, how you hold the handlebars and what you do. And you can actually see, when they're looking at the screen and doing something, if you're in the same room, you can see where they're looking and what they're looking for. There's so much to be said for sitting beside them while they're pushing and just the way they respond. Because not only that, it's also psychological as well, right? So making sure that they're relaxed, they're breathing. You often see them, white knuckling the steering wheel, and as soon as the drivers relax, they always go faster. So, sim racing is one of the most important tools that we have that we didn't used to have.
Yeah.
And I use that very, very often with my guys and getting them quicker, and it works very, very well.
Cool. Let's bounce through these to finish if you don't mind. And maybe you've already covered this in the conversation, so forgive me if I'm doubling up here. A failure that perhaps secretly helped your career?
That would definitely be when I got denied the factory promotion from Lamborghini. That was a turning.
How did that give you?
Well, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have come to Australia, and I would still be in Europe and trying to pursue the career over there, and who knows what would have happened. But moving over here made me become a freelancer. Now driving for many manufacturers, and like you said, a gun for hire. But for me, it's being able to be flexible and drive whatever my customers want me to race in, and that's probably something that I've taken on as a bit of a strength is the adaptability to the different brands. They're all a bit different, and there's a lot of different tools that they all use, and just trying to maximize the car is hard on any day of the week, but trying to jump from one brand to another and try and get everything out of it is a very tricky puzzle to solve.
Maybe this is the Phillip Island result, I'm not sure, but what about a race result that perhaps meant more to you than other people realise? Yeah,
for me it was what I talked about much earlier about 2015. I think 2015 was a point in my career where I was really struggling to find funds. To take that next step into wings and slicks from Formula Ford was a huge jump up in terms of funding, and had I not been able to put the car on pole that day in 2015 and win the race, I have no idea where I would have been, but it wouldn't have given me that confidence to push forward and know that I could do it, because that was the first day where I got in a proper race car against some of the world's best young drivers, and took the fight to them and kept my cool and brought the thing home without a mistake. And that's really one of the most important parts, is that you believe in yourself. And if you don't have that belief, you can't do much without that.
I think that's tremendous that is still etched here, mate. That's brilliant. What do you reckon perhaps are the most underrated skills in motorsport? I mean, you've learnt the mechanical side through your dad. You've talked about the sales side that you learned on your push bike as a young kid hitting the road and so on, and now the people side in that kind of coaching capacity. What's the most underrated thing?
Oh, well, that's it. I think the diversity and being able to adapt to a different situation and having that skill base. You've got to be willing to do things you don't want to do.
Put yourself out there,
put yourself out there, right? And get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I love that.
Yeah, because I think the more you put yourself in situations as a driver that you don't feel fully comfortable with, the more you learn. And every single day, it doesn't matter how much experience we as professional drivers have, you're always learning every single day. And whether it's something to do with the car or something to do with the way that you show yourself to the world, or something to do with the way that you treat your customers and your peers, it's all very important to be able to adapt to any situation. And again, make sure you're having fun. That's really key.
So that leads me to, what's harder, getting those opportunities or keeping them?
Keeping them. And that's growing up. It was very, very hard to make the opportunities happen, just to get to the grid, right? But actually, the hardest part is performing the task still. So if you don't enjoy the hustle, you're definitely not going to enjoy the chase. I think when you're at this different level of the sport, you're doing the same things or performing similar tasks, but with different outcomes, right? Like when I was younger, it was all about all I needed was money, right? And now all I need is opportunities to drive. But what you're doing is the same thing. You're just not looking for funds, you're looking for opportunities now, right? So the challenge doesn't get easier, just changes.
There's some really sage stuff in here, mate. To finish, advice to aspiring drivers, and perhaps something that you might have done differently along the way. I'm not a believer in regret, right? You do the best with what you've got at the time and make the best choice or decision at the time, right? But is there something along those lines?
Oh, I mean, as a driver, you're always looking for optimization, right? But normally it's just on the track, and when I look back at where my career took me, like you said, I wouldn't change anything. I think it's what builds character, and it's what makes you become the person you are. I'm a massive believer of that. But definitely there's some things I wish I knew back then that, and still these days I think about this often, is you've got to trust your instinct, and when something doesn't feel right, it's most likely not right, okay. And I do wish I created different opportunities at different points, and if that had happened, things might have happened a bit quicker, or might have took me in a different path completely. But nothing. I don't regret anything.
Good. The final thing for me, you have a cool Combi. Tell me about that baby. And every once in a while I see a pic of you, maybe your fiance with you two, venturing off for a little escape somewhere. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, 1973 Volkswagen Combi. I bought it as soon as we went into lockdown in 2020.
Did you?
Yep, that was what kept me sane around that time. I had some savings. I was saving up for a house. And I just said, you know what, just go for it. So I bought the van, and over a period of 9 or 10 months, I restored it with the help of Dad in his workshop. During COVID, I had lots of free time, so that was fine. But once we went back to work, it was just during nights. So I was working for Dad in the workshop, building race cars, and then in the evening I was out in the shed building race cars. Building the van. So, I have a lovely 1973 VW Combi, and whenever we're back in New Zealand, we always make the effort to take it out for a trip, take it out for a night camping. And we enjoy going away and getting out in the nature a bit. And
love that.
And going for a few dips in the cold lakes in New Zealand, because there's definitely no shortage of those.
Yes.
And I mean, yeah, it's good fun. It's such a beautiful country, and we love going back there as often as we can. It's very expensive to do, but we do try our best. And whenever we do, we always take the Combi out for a gallop and hopefully a night or two as well.
Good on you. Well done. This has been fantastic. In hitting record here today, I wasn't sure whether this would be short cast, long form, and I know in your career, mate, you still have chapters that you would that you want to write. I want to say go well with that. I know Timmy would be massively proud, mate. And congrats on what you have achieved so far through things that I think are great examples for those that are going to be the next wave of Kiwis coming through. Well done.
Thank you, Rusty. Thank you very much.